Hello and welcome to The Extra Mile. I'm Linda BOUDREAUX. Our guest today is Karey Landreneau. Karey is an artist from Denham Springs, and she does different kinds of art, primarily portraits, caricatures, murals, different things like that. And we're going to meet her today and find out some of what she does. So welcome, Karey.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for coming across the basin. It's always a nice time of year to travel, but I appreciate you coming to Lafayette and sharing your work with us. So tell me a little bit about what it is that you do.
Caricaturing is something I do because I love it, because it could possibly be a lucrative living within time. It's just fun. Everybody who sees it, they love it and they get inspired, and it just looks like magic to them because, well, the more I study and practice, the better I get, and the more I can make it look like it takes no effort at all, and that's where the magic comes in.
But the truth of the matter is that it takes a little bit of effort, huh?
It took me a lot of years of studying books on how to do it. I've probably studied books between, working full-time whenever I could and practiced for about 10 years.
Wow.
But I finally just started drawing out in public probably about 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
And it just progresses from there the more that I practice.
So this is your passion and your love, I take it.
It's one of them, and it's part of the branches of my art. I love murals. Whenever I do a caricature gig and it's over, I start craving to do a mural, and before you know it, I have someone calling me and wanting a mural done or a portrait, or as long as it's art, it doesn't matter. It's all passion.
So do you have a certain medium that you like to work in? Like I'm thinking about your murals. They're done in what?
They're done in acrylic usually.
Okay, and your caricatures are?
The black and white is simply smarker, and the colored ones are done in pastel.
Okay, and see, I looked at that and I thought, my goodness, it just looks so soft, and we're going to show these in a minute, and the colors are so good. But you can work in different kind of medias depending on what it is that you're working on. Mm-hmm. What about portraits? How are portraits different than caricatures?
Well, portraits, you're not dealing with any exaggeration. You're dealing with truth and the spirit and emotion of a person. Caricatures, you're dealing with spirit and emotion of the person too, but portraits have to be exact, whereas caricatures, you can take the features that really make an individual stand out and stretch the truth a little bit to a grotesque degree, which I never do. It loses cells. But in my heart, I want someone to see how beautiful they are. Most of us are pretty good at putting ourselves down, yeah. And we forget to pick out those things that are special about ourselves and appreciate them, and that's what a caricature, a good one, is supposed to do. But some people also, grotesque is not a very good word, super exaggerated, okay. Exaggerated to the extreme.
And then it loses its beauty and becomes something else.
More abstract, more artsy.
Okay.
You'd really have to know the features. Actually, the more simplistic and abstract a caricature is, the better that artist is, because they really know the art. They really know how to stretch and change the features with you being able to still recognize that it's that person.
It sounds like a complex talent to me as I'm listening to you talk. Would you say it is, kind of?
It actually is. I mean, I guess I never thought of it that way until I started really getting into it. And it's more complex than I thought, and actually sometimes, I put portraits aside and started working on caricatures thinking that I was going for something that would be less stressful, and I think I was wrong.
You had to do it. It was a whole flip then, huh?
Mm-hmm.
From something very precise and accurate to something kind of more playful, but really maybe deeper in a different way.
It's playful, but I have to know what I'm doing. I have to know what I'm doing. The thing about portraits is I can be at home and I can do it anywhere, and there's peace and quiet, and I can listen to music. But caricatures, it's different in the sense that I am under the gun, I'm under pressure. People don't want to wait more than usually 2 to 3 to 5 minutes for their drawing. And So you have to do them quickly.
Now, you do your caricatures at festivals and fairs and different places where you've got a live audience, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
So people are sitting and they want to get up and they want to go ride the Ferris wheel or do whatever it is that they're going to do. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, they usually 2 or 3 minutes is what I need to keep it at to keep the customer satisfied. They usually don't. There's too much going on. There's fun to be had, and they don't want to. They don't mind sitting, but they don't want to sit for more usually than 5 minutes. I would say 5 is even pushing it.
I'm going to show this. Let's hold one of these up, and I just want people to realize you can do something like this in 5 minutes.
That one probably 5 to 6 minutes.
And you've got 3 faces, and it's great fun.
It is. It's fun. Now that one is 3 faces. That's why it took longer. But if you have one, it's a single face here.
Let's show that one. This is a single face, and you do these just kind of with the people sitting there at the festival or fair.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to show her. How long would this one take you?
That would take about, let's say about 3 to 4 minutes.
That's amazing to me. I can't imagine. So you're going to do one for us here today, right? You're going to sketch something? Okay, so maybe we can get a camera lined up so we can see how you do it. So what is it you think that you have to be able to do a caricature? What is it as an artist that you have to be able to hone in on somebody so quickly? Is it your intuition? Is it your creativity? Is it something you don't even know because it's the muse whispering in your ear?
Well, that's a good question. The key is to know what the average human face looks like.
Okay.
And that's always your reference. Like I already know that the eyes are always going to be, on average, halfway in the middle of the head. And the nose will be halfway between the eyes and the bottom of the chin. And when you always know what the average face looks like, and you see a face where maybe the eyes are a little bit higher than, say, the halfway mark, you know to exaggerate that fact on your drawing. So you exaggerate, you compare the average face to the face that you're looking at, and you pick out those differences in your mind, and it happens really, really quickly.
Yeah.
But once you have the average face measurements memorized, then it happens, it's more rapid. And with practice, it becomes more kind of like a reflex.
Okay, I was thinking because it has to be almost spontaneous to do something like this one in 3 to 4 minutes. I mean, you can't sit there and look at her face and begin the computations. I mean, you have to see her and know where to go with it.
You have to learn to be quick about it.
How did you learn this skill, this art?
How did I learn it?
Yeah. I mean, do you go to school for it? Is it something that you just have in you? Is it practice, practice, practice?
It's a combination of all of them, really. My school isn't, say, university or art schools. They're books. They're from maybe people who went to school and could handle that environment, but for me, it wasn't the case. I learned better on my own in a quiet environment and through practice and trial and error. I wanted to be a student, but I had to realize my special way of learning. And now I am a student.
And honor that.
Yeah, and yeah, honor it. Just be who I was and accept who I was. But
I think there's a lesson in that statement for all of us. You know, so often we all try to do things the way people tell us to do them or be the kind of person people tell us to be. And that's not usually the case. It's kind of like we're not all the average face. We all have our own face, right? So we all have our own everything.
Our own way of learning and thinking and doing and being.
And feeling. So while we're talking, you want to sketch, or do you sketch? Do you talk when you sketch?
I'd love to. Actually,
okay. Try to get a camera on your sketch pad. So while we get set up. So when you're like at a festival, are you talking to the person while you're drawing them?
Usually I am, simply because it makes me calmer.
Probably makes them calmer too.
It makes them calmer too.
What about the live audience standing around watching you do it? Is that nerve-wracking?
The live audience doesn't really bother me. It actually kicks me in gear because I know these people, I mean, my goodness, I'm getting paid to do something that I love to do. It's just such a blessing.
How good is that?
So my job is to go home, study. My job is to be the best artist I can be and to give them their money's worth, because it's just a wonderful thing to be able to do and get paid for.
How do you break into this, into the festivals and get a booth? What's involved in that? If anybody out there is interested in doing it, what do you have to do?
I was a part of the Dental Springs Art Association, so I had a wealth of artists around me, and they offer the opportunity during the fall festival to have a booth. And,
That was your first time?
That was my first time at a spring festival, and the booth was like I think $25 this year, and you just set up your booth and offer your wares. It's as simple as that, and it was the perfect place to get started at. You know, it wasn't intimidating, and
So you weren't nervous?
I was nervous, but I wasn't. And the more I come out and do these things, I'm not as nervous.
So part of it too is just walking through your fear, isn't it? Just not letting being a little bit afraid or a lot nervous stop you. You just do it anyway.
The fear is going to be there, and I had learned to accept that fact, that the nervousness and the fear would always be there. It was a constant, but I ignore it and do what I got to do anyway.
Because otherwise, what happens? You hole up in your room. You don't.
The art
do
gets
anything,
backed up,
yeah.
and I'm miserable. I have to let the art out. I have to be who I am, and so I have to do this art. It's not. I don't have a choice. I'm unhappy if I'm not doing my art.
Are you happy when you are?
Yes.
So that's really the key then is, and you were saying before we started that a lot of this is about doing the art for the right reasons, huh?
Yes. If you're doing art for money, you're probably in the wrong business. But the money will come, a living. If your dream is to do art for a living, it comes if the art's first, if the passion's there and it's first.
And you were saying that sometimes, like with the caricatures, it's helping people see their own beauty. You're saying that, which I thought was a wonderful thing to say, because sometimes we don't, huh?
Well, people, I find the people who are intimidated to get caricatures done are usually afraid because caricatures have that reputation of someone taking the feature maybe that you hate the most on yourself and blowing it up. Like if you have a large nose and you're self-conscious about it, people would be afraid that the caricature artist will really fill up the page with that nose. But
That's what I'm thinking.
it could happen, but not always. Caricaturing is not about making fun of people. It's about celebrating what makes us all different, celebrating those special features that make you you. And it takes a while to appreciate those features. We all have our ideas of what we think we look like or what we would like to look like. But since our looks are never going to change, for the most part, we need to, well, time changes it, but
Time will do it.
we need to accept the beauty of who we are.
And our culture doesn't necessarily encourage that, does it?
It doesn't. Unfortunately, it doesn't.
So when you do a portrait as opposed to a caricature, do you do portraits from photographs, or how do you do your portraits?
Yes, I do portraits from photographs mostly. In time, I'd love to do them live, but it takes time.
Yeah.
That's, takes time and a lot of growth.
Now you are primarily, I take it, self-taught through just your work. What's it like for you when you tackle a new project? Because you do murals, you do caricatures. Do you just feel inside yourself that you have to go do something else? Are you called to do it? To do a new art form? Am I making sense? Does that question make sense?
The murals, the first mural I did commercially came about because There was a need for it. I was up to the challenge because I love being challenged. And I couldn't resist the challenge. And it was of a swamp scene. And I couldn't resist it. It took a lot of faith. It took a lot of prayer. It took walking past my fear and believing in myself. And these were all new things for me to face. But after I faced it and produced that mural, which I first did on sketch paper first, and then in my mind's eye, I just pretended that that sketch paper was that wall and just broke it down and piece by piece started the sky and the foreground. It was born, it was birthed, and it was an act of faith.
So your art has really been a vehicle for your own personal journey and your own personal growth, I'm hearing. Is that fair to say?
It has.
You know, it helps us to discover. And that's really, I think, what all the arts are for. You know, that whole creative part of ourselves helps us to tap into who we are and helps us to be.
Yeah.
Now, when did you first realize that you were an artist?
It was probably in about 5th grade. I made this booklet on Louisiana, on state bird and state flower and just different things about Louisiana. And the 5th grade teacher that I had picked up on my ability that I didn't even know about. And it progressed from there. I had a high school art teacher who saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. I always told I could draw good, and I knew I had a modicum of talent, but I guess it wasn't really coaxed and pulled out of me and taken seriously. And even now, I'm still working on taking myself seriously. I think I may always will be. But it started with high school mostly is when I really began to think of art seriously. But I don't think I ever imagined that I would be anything else, though I have to be to survive until the art.
Yeah. Till it catches on, you can really, because you got to eat, and you're entitled to eat. You know, that's okay too. So you have a day job along with your art?
I do have a day job of cake decorating.
So you stay very busy.
I do.
But it sounds like all of it's creative. Is that fair to say? Because cake decorating is also a creative endeavor.
Yeah, cake decorating is amazing. It's kept me alive as an artist. It's kept me active as an artist. I draw every day at my job with icing, one way or the other. I either paint a face. I'll water down my icing as if it was paint, and I could paint a face like with a palette knife. Or I sculpt cake, or I do little. Someone wants me to pipe a frog out of icing and make a little frog. Oh, that's what I do. It's like drawing and sculpting at the same time when it comes out with icing, piped it.
So who would have thought? Who would have thought? So are these endeavors that you like to do primarily, most of them in the quiet of your own environment, except for the work that you do at the festivals?
No, I like to entertain people. I like to, my job's to study my art and know it well and to keep practicing to where I can make it look like it's nothing. Because if I can make it look magical, it inspires people, it excites them, they want to see that. And then when they ask me questions, especially children, I let them know it took work, it took practice. To feel the freedom and the flow and the love that I have, the fun of it all, you have to work to get to that point, it doesn't just come. And there's a lot of self-doubt, there's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of quiet moments where you're alone just practicing your craft. But it's worth it in the end when you see people get excited and inspired and want to hang your stuff in their home.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
there's no
wonderful.
bigger compliment than having your work hung in somebody else's home.
That's right.
So how do you get past the discouraging times? Because we all have them. I mean, it's just a part of life.
I pray.
Okay.
I read a lot about artists who are ahead of me in the game. Other caricature artists, other artists who are where I'm aspiring to be. And when I read that they were feeling the same feelings, and yet they kept on, it inspires me. It's like, okay, these feelings are natural. I just have to keep on with it.
Right.
and I'm going to break through. And just like I had broken through with the mural that I had done. And after you break through that hard ground, it becomes easier.
And then you get free again.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you coming on the drawing here? Are we having fun? Oh, there it comes. And while you're doing that, I'm going to talk about this one. I'm going to hold it up. Oh, never mind. We'll wait a few more minutes. So when you're doing the caricature, Jen, you kind of just zone in, get into like a certain space. Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
I think we're all going to watch you do this for a quick moment because it's fun to watch you do it. It is magical. It's like everything just appears out of nowhere on your paper.
Mm-hmm. That's another thing that inspires me and pushes me on. Nothing is more aggravating than to have a paying customer, and because I didn't study or I didn't put the practice time in, the drawing suffers. That hurts me because sometimes, you see people work hard for their money, and especially with the times that we're dealing with now, with the economy. It's an honor for people to purchase a piece of art, which is a luxury item. They don't have to do it.
That's right.
And when they do, it's a dishonor to them if I'm not putting in the effort and doing my studies. So that's another thing that pushes me forward. I have to give a good product to people because they're worth it, and they're paying my way. They're paying me to do something I love. And you don't get much better than that.
You don't. And you're right, the people are worth it. I mean, and they deserve the same respect that you as the artist do. So in a festival, are caricatures pretty popular? Do people stop by and
They love them. I don't have any problem selling the caricatures. There's different venues that I'm trying. I've tried weddings, which I love. Birthday parties. I don't like birthday parties as much because there's not a lot of people. Okay. Weddings, I get into my mode and I'm doing one drawing after the other. People are getting entertained and I get into my zone. Whereas if there's not as many drawings to do, well, the zone doesn't happen
okay.
as quickly.
Okay, and then you finish too soon before you get totally into it, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the last couple of minutes that we have, how can people get in touch with you if they want to have a cake decorated or a caricature or a portrait or
Well, I do murals, portraits, and caricatures. They can get in touch with me through my email and my phone number.
Okay, which we will have on the screen, so we will make that available.
But I don't do cakes. I just do that as a day job.
Oh, okay. But that sounds like a lot of fun too. And while we're kind of looking at the drawing that you're doing, but you also, if you take them home, you can color them, right? You can use like pastels and coloring. We can get a totally different look.
Oh yeah, the pastels.
We're not going to be able to get a shot of it quite yet because the camera's still focused on the caricature. We've watched you draw it as we've talked, so it's been great fun. I love it. You're right. It really is a lot of fun. It is like magic.
As long as you know your stuff, if I don't practice on a regular basis, I get rusty. The lines aren't as flowy, they aren't as beautiful. The nervousness is there, and you can see it in the lines. So it's an insult to the person who's paying you. It's not right. So got to keep in touch with the artwork and practice.
Is it comforting? Is it relaxing? Is it soothing to practice? Or is it just work?
To practice, practice is light work because sometimes practice is it's studying, paying attention to what I'm doing, but it's not work that I don't enjoy.
So sometimes work and practice kind of are the same thing.
Yes.
Okay. Well, the last couple of seconds that we have, what do you want people to know about you, about your work, about caricatures in general? What's our takeaway today? Well, what I heard you say is that we're all worth it. Is that a fair?
I guess the takeaway would be I care a lot about other artists. I care a lot about the fact that some of them are never born because they don't get through that. I spent a lot of time being blocked in being stuck at a job, but feeling down inside that my job was to do this, what I'm doing now. And if you can just keep practicing, keep studying, keep believing, and keep making, even if it's 30 minutes a day to do your art. Nobody else can do art like one other artist can do art. Sure, we can copy each other, but the real art that is that person's art, it can't be copied. It's
only theirs.
It's special.
Yeah.
But sometimes it never gets born because we get wrapped up in life. But it's really such a little commitment for it to start happening. But it's a little bit of commitment, but it's over a long period of time, and eventually a breakthrough comes.
So do it. Karey, we're out of time, but thank you so much for being here today. This has been a pleasure having you. Thank you for sharing your caricature.
Thank you.
Come back again.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching The Extra Mile.